Hey guys, a rare video where I'm kind of unrehearsed and laying in bed and I don't even have a hat on. I never have not a hat on. um, hey, I just want to kind of call us in here for a second, man, just to be kind of unifying and kind of be in solidarity. And um, you know, here where I've kind of tried to make educational content sort of like this. Um, one of the things about being kind of a social media user, um, and I am chronically online, which is not always healthy, but it's also a major part of my job because I run communications for a place. Um, but I just want to this kind of international thing. I think it's hard to make sense of that, like why we as Americans, what the concern is about international orders and international rule of law and international coalitions, like NATO and things like this. It's hard for us sometimes to understand, what's really at stake there, because we are somewhat isolated. I mean, for America's a big, strong power, and we're a little bit isolated with big oceans on either side of us, and we're used to being, we're the ones that deliver aid, and not the ones that are necessarily the recipients of aid. Um, and so, I mean, I think most Americans have the idea that, like, well, how much international news do I really need to be paying attention to, or what really are the stakes here? Um, and I think it's helpful to have a little bit of an international perspective. And I want to just raise this in a couple of ways. One is to say, there's international outlets are covering the American political scene right now as a scene that is perilous, that threatens, even the safety and security in European countries. I think sometimes it's difficult for us to understand, that Russia really does have, they want to expand. They are imperial. Like imperialism is part of Putin's sort of thing. That they want to disrupt Western democratic political rule of law. They want to take more territory for themselves, and Russia's not alone in that. I mean, North Korea and China have similar kind of imperial goals, and Russia wants to take, more land. They want to continue kind of their Western expansion in similar ways that China would be happy to take Taiwan, for example. And NATO, that coalition of NATO countries, that comes out of trying to provide peace and stability on the other side of World War II. That World War II was so destructive with such loss of life that, on the other side of that, and America was a leader in this with other European allies. It was like, we got to have a coalition here so that in the future that we don't get overrun by tyrannical governments, that there is something standing in the way of authoritarianism, of autocracy, of totalitarianism, whatever you want to call it. That there's some backstop to countries that would be happy to invade other countries. And NATO is that. And there's, you might hear this thing about Article 5. Article 5 within the NATO agreement is that if you attack one NATO aligned country, then you attack all of them. And the truth is, Article 5 was invoked after 9/11. So many European countries are allies that in the NATO coalition sent troops and supplies and equipment to support America's quote unquote war on terror after 9/11. So America itself has been the beneficiary of Article 5 within the NATO coalition. So to withdraw from NATO would be a major concern for democracy in the world. So we need to understand, I think many European countries are pretty freaked out by what's happening. And that disruption of peaceful coalitions is something that should concern us. I also want to raise our Canadian friends. Um, you may not have exposure to this. I mean, there's a lot of media suppression happening. There is not a lot of mainstream media in the US that is giving a lot of coverage to what our Canadian friends and allies are experiencing right now. These, what President Trump is doing, talking about, even the press secretary talking about, oh, well, Canada will be the 51st state, and calling Prime Minister Trudeau Governor Trudeau and things like this. I mean, not only is that just very disrespectful, I hate the free license for disrespect. It's so tacky to not treat our allies with respect. I just think it's tacky. But deeper than that, our Canadian friends are freaked out, in serious ways. They do not want to be annexed. They do not want to be, they don't want to be the shakedown, for resources and, fossil fuels and things like this. So, I mean, there's a lot of Canadian content creators on TikTok who were like, why are Americans letting this happen? And I think most Americans don't realize the threat, the existential threat that many Canadians feel. And I feel like if we had better media coverage of those things, if we saw our Canadian friends being like, please, Americans, why are you not standing up for us? Why are you not standing up against this? I think it would change our calculus a little bit. So, I mean, this international order means something. The last thing that I want to say is that, I mean, I'm really I really feel emboldened, empowered. I'm speaking on behalf of democracy. I'm speaking on behalf of our Constitution, which is not a perfect document, but it's been the document that has binded us together for 250 years. And so it's weird also to feel that I'm somehow being, rebellious or speaking against power when I'm speaking on behalf of the Constitution. And I think that should shake us up a little bit, that defending the Constitution of the United States is unpopular, that's going against the administration. That should concern us. So we got to start waking up to these ideas. And I think many people are. But I just want to say, not as an olive branch. I mean, I don't know what I'm saying, but sometimes I feel like my positions are a little bit maligned, versus the kind of majority in power right now, on a state level, on a federal level. But the principles that I'm speaking for are principles that are rooted, that are grounded in our democracy, in our Constitution, which again is an imperfect document, which is why it's been amended 20 some times to try to improve it. And of course, the Constitution was originally ratified only with the commitment that amendments would happen immediately. So the Constitution, from its initial adoption, was adopted contingent upon its amending immediately. The Bill of Rights are amendments to the Constitution. And that's what helped it to be adopted by states, is that it would be adopted with a commitment to immediately amend it with the Bill of Rights to ensure civil liberties, to ensure individual freedoms. That was the condition on which the Constitution was adopted. I just wanted to say, I'm speaking on behalf of democracy, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Constitution. And if the things that I say that are rooted in the Constitution are unpopular with a sitting administration, I think that should give everybody reason for pause.